You won't want to miss today's episode. We're going to hear from Cole McNew, a real estate agent from small town Monroe, Michigan, who raced his way to the top of the leaderboard on his real estate journey, managing to be a finalist for RAS Media's Rookie of the Year. Cole shares some amazing tips for agents that are just getting started that you don't want to miss. I can't believe that Cole wasn't previously in real estate after listening to his story.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the podcast where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. My name is Tina Lapp, and I'm with Colibri Real Estate Schools. I've been working in real estate education for over 30 years, and I've had a real estate license for over 20.
And welcome. I'm Andrew Robinson. I'm also with Colibri Real Estate Schools, and we're excited to have you on our show today.
Cole, welcome. Will
Thank
you
you.
tell the audience a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, where you live,
Sure.
and what brokerage you're with?
Yeah, of course. My name is Cole McNew. I live and born and raised in Monroe, Michigan. Small little, this is what we do in Michigan. So it's down here right at the border of Ohio and Michigan. 36,000 people, pretty small town south of Detroit, north of Toledo. I'm with Coldwell Banker Commercial Haynes and Coldwell Banker Haynes Real Estate. So I do commercial and residential sales here in Southeast Michigan.
Wonderful. And Cole, congratulations on being recognized as a Rookie of the Year by RAS Media. Such a great honor.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for taking the time to meet with us today so
Of
we
course.
can learn a little bit more about you and your journey. So let's jump right in. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you were doing before you got into real estate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I always say real estate found me. I did not search for real estate.
love it.
I have no family in real estate. Sure, since I was a little kid, since I remember, I've always been infatuated with homes and, what is that home worth? And so that there's always been a passion for real estate, but my career started 16 years old. I started working at a church. I did marketing. Communications and marketing. So I was doing billboard design and social media and, all those types of things, just trying to understand the marketing world. I transferred from there to in finance. I worked in a call center. So I learned how to talk to people, learned how to talk on the phone, which is really quite different than talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was recruited from there by Rocket Mortgage, which is a large, broker here in the country.
Sure.
For me, it's 30 minutes away. And I was recruited by Rocket Mortgage to lead up a team of new agents, new brokers that are coming to the business and do some training, really just helping them, get all of their licensing in order through the broker license process. So to become mortgage loan originators. So I was there and I was just getting to the place in my career where it was becoming monotonous. It's the same thing over and over again every day. I was tired of the drive, even though it wasn't terrible. It's still driving to a big city, find parking, walk 2 blocks in the rain. And I was like, there's got to be something more out there. And right as soon as I started having those internal conversations and a few external conversations with some family and friends, I got a phone call that kind of changed everything. The phone call was really simple. It was it was actually my assistant when I was at my job at the church doing marketing. And she calls and says, "Hey, my husband's looking to retire. Are you interested in working with him and taking over the business?" And so real estate really did find me.
That's awesome. So I understand maybe you went through high school in slightly non-traditional way. Talk to me about that a little bit and
Yeah.
maybe exposure to some college classes while you were in high school?
For sure. Yeah. I went to, well, when I was going through school, it's kind of standard now. There's dual enrollment processes
Yeah.
and, things through most, especially public school education.
Hmm.
Um, for me, though, I went to a specific high school, designated directly for, college classes. So beginning your sophomore year, you start taking one, then your second semester, sophomore year, you take two, and then every year there forward, you take more and more. So I was getting out of high school at 9 o'clock in the morning and then going straight to college for 5 or 6 classes after that. So took up basically, a full college semester each semester all the way through high school.
That's what drives at
Yeah,
such a young age.
it
It's
was
pretty
really
cool.
incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's two types of students, right? And I noticed this especially in the real estate world. A lot of real estate agents, at least the ones that I'm used to, we all love to learn, but we're not good at something. And for me, it was test taking. I was so bad at test taking. So I knew I hated school, but I love to learn. So it was an environment in which I could be a young person and still learn and get the exposure to college classes, working with professors and not high school teachers. And it kind of forced me to grow up, if you will.
Yeah.
But it exposed me to all types of things, right? I took a pottery course. I'm like, maybe I like this. I took a first aid and CPR. I'm like, I'm going to be a nurse. I did all the things, but I got to learn that at 14, 15, 16 years old. So by the time I was graduating when I was 18, I was, really ready to go. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and really not do. So it
Hmm.
worked out well.
Yeah, that's great getting that exposure at a young age.
Yeah.
Um, so, what inspired you to pursue a career in real estate? Like, what was it about a career in real estate that kind of got you and what you're about?
I was thinking when that phone call came through from my previous assistant, um, I was thinking, well, nothing that I've done so far has anything to do with real estate. And I was completely lying to myself because I was like, no, it has nothing to do with it. This is like a total career change. It's a complete new start. How am I going to survive? I'm not going to make any money. All those things into your head when you get, an opportunity like that, really. And I was so wrong. Like the marketing to finance, the finance to mortgages, the mortgages and the people building skills to real estate. It made my transition so easy. Like there was no real learning curve because it was all already in me. Right now, every day when I wake up, I'm marketing myself. I'm managing my finances and my clients' finances. I understand the mortgage process better than probably most real estate agents, unless they're duly licensed or have been in the mortgage industry before. I know how to work a call center, so I can talk to anybody, and now I understand real estate. So it's kind of a really pretty marriage of all these things. I mean, I wish I could give every real estate agent, everyone with an ambition to be a real estate agent, that experience of all of those different hats that I've had to wear, over the years.
That's incredible, and that you've had the opportunity to pull all of that together.
Yeah.
Um, just fantastic. So, what what's your inspiration? Like, what drives you to do that? What's driving you?
I always say real estate, sure, it's about selling houses and selling, in my case, commercial buildings and marketing yourself. You're your own boss, you're your own business. Um, but for me, it's more a business of people, right?
Hmm.
So it's the relationships, it's the people, it's the meeting a need for a person that didn't know that they had a need. um, that's the part of the business that's fascinating. Honestly, that's probably three-quarters of the reason why I wake up in the morning is the relationships and the constant growth. And it's just kind of an answer to, quite frankly, a lot of prayers, right? It answers every question that I've ever had about myself. What do I want to do? I know I want to be with people. I know I want to be working in the community, making it a better place than how it started. Um, Engaging in conversations like this, and real estate's kind of been the conduit to bring all of those things together for me.
Yeah, that it
It's easy to find drive when you enjoy what you do,
it
it's really easy
certainly
to show
is.
up.
and enjoying working with people, obviously something that's just a part of you. It's apparent. So
Thank you.
that being said, has there been a person that has sort of driven you, helped influence your decision, supported you along the way?
You know, I think for me, that's one of the most difficult questions to answer because I have not felt unsupported at all through this journey, right? And I know when we were in Boston and I was talking to my colleagues, we all have different experiences, but for me, I don't know of a single person that didn't encourage me, right? And this is a competitive world. It's a competitive market. But what I learned as soon as I started forming relationships, especially with colleagues, right, with other real estate agents and brokers in the area, if one person succeeds, we are all succeeding. And that's a kind of a tough pill to swallow because no, like I want to do really well, but that's not how it works. If we are all succeeding together, then we're doing really good stuff. So I had a ton of support, family, friends, of course, support. But then even here in my office, I mean, they sell. I'm looking at balloons right now, residual balloons from a week ago, a different award ceremony that I got to be a part of, a different award to win, and that's how it is here. So I would say if a new agent came up to me and said, hey, what should I be looking for in a brokerage? Do the best you can to find a broker and an office, a team of people that just push you and guide you and don't want to see you fail, because man, it's made like the world of difference for me. I don't know what it's like to not be supported by my colleagues, my brokers, my mentors, my family, my friends. I mean, I don't feel like anyone wants to see me fail, which is awesome.
That is awesome. So let me ask one more thing, sort of
Hmm.
about your why and how you got started in real
Sure.
estate before we sort of jump into some other areas. But do you think where you grew up or where you're from has influenced your decision or affected sort of your career pathway in getting into real estate?
You know, I think it certainly helps, right? Um, I know there's smaller cities within the country that I've visited and been to that very similar to mine in the sense of if you're from here, you're going to be more successful than if you're not. And I think the network that comes along with that helps, right? My dad is the superintendent of a school district here in town. That certainly helps. I've known the mayor since I was a little kid. Like those types of things make a big difference when it comes to success in your career. And I can really speak to that because I'm trying to grow my business, and so I'm getting outside of my small community into these larger communities, and learning a lot very quickly. That it's a much more competitive market out there than I think what I was used to, for sure, the first 2 years of my journey. Not that they've been easy, but I've had a good backbone because I'm a local name, I'm a local
Mhm.
face. There's some trust that's automatically received because of those things. So, yes, but at the same time, there's always going to be this pressure for being a young person in an industry surrounded by people. I mean, the demographics in Monroe, in this area, the average real estate agent is 56 years old, and there's 792 of them. And so you're constantly pushing against that barrier, regardless of who you are, what your name is. For me, it's just network and keeping that network as close as I possibly can. Right, in real estate we call it sphere of influence, but call it whatever you want. Contacts in your phone, keeping your people close and making sure that they know that you're the resource here in town.
I love to hear how supported you were, Cole, and how like also competitive you sound. Like, hey, there's 792 real estate agents in my market.
I
That's
check
awesome.
every day. I want to know who my competition is.
So you get this call from this assistant that you used to work with. You now have to get a real estate license. Like, how'd you go
Hmm.
about
Oh,
choosing the school? I mean, it sounds like you were
sure.
training mortgage originators, but
Yeah.
this is something new. So walk me through that process.
Sure. So I got really lucky. I say I got lucky. I got the phone call on a Friday. I jumped online, did a quick Google search, found a company online that was providing a license. Um, uh, Being honest, it wasn't Calibri, but it was a really poor experience. So I did everything that I could to get my hours in for my licensure as quickly as possible. So I had completed the online portion by Monday. I scheduled my test for Wednesday. So
Wow.
I crammed all my studying in on Tuesday, and thankfully I passed it that first time that I took it. Um, so my experience from the phone call to the actual initiation was a bit unconventional. Probably something when I'm speaking to agents who are or considering people who are considering this industry, I do not recommend anyone do what I do. Because even today, I have to go back and I'm almost relearning the things that I learned because I took no opportunity to absorb. I just get all the information in, spit it out on paper, and I really don't know how I passed the test, quite frankly.
Oh,
But
that's still
I
really
did.
impressive. I mean, that's 40 hours of content in Michigan that
I was
you jammed in.
determined to get that done as quickly as possible.
So you
Determined.
didn't, I was going to ask you what challenges you faced. It sounds like you didn't face many. You just went after it and
You
crushed
know,
it.
and like I said, I started this off by saying I'm a terrible test taker. I don't know how I passed that test. I think it was, honestly, I mean, I had such a deep understanding of the mortgage industry, so much overlap there. It was much easier for me to understand the material because I had a bit of especially the numbers, the financing end of it. I had all that down, so that helps. Um, because for me it was the numbers portion of the test, the math portion that scared me the most. um, so but in hindsight, if I could do it over, I would have really paced myself, taken my time, done research on a company to get the proper education, made sure that I was doing it right, really, rather than just trying to do a rush job. But because I don't know how I passed, I really
You're a talented person.
don't.
Um,
Thank you.
what, so you get out into real estate. You mentioned you're having to go back sometimes and look. What are you doing
Oh yeah.
to continue to educate yourself now that you're a
Yeah.
licensed real estate agent?
Yeah, so education for me is kind of multifaceted. So I've mentioned a primary focus of my business is commercial, right? The person whose business I'm taking over, he did about 90% commercial when I walked in. Right around 90 to 95% of his business was commercial. We're obviously licensed in the state of Michigan. We can sell both residential and commercial, but in his case, he was like 90 to 95%. I'm trying to drive that ratio down further and further. So while I want a really strong understanding in commercial, so I'm working on my CCIM designation right now, 3 out of 4 classes, and then the ethics course in on that. That's a lot of work and a lot of money to get that licensing. But I'm working on that. And adjacent to that, I'm just maybe 2 or 3 hours shy of completing my online course for my Ohio license. Since we are so close to the border, it just makes sense to have that. I am taking my time on that, so I should be okay. Much more extensive in Ohio, the education material than here in Michigan. It's a completely different animal.
Yep.
And then in adjacence to that, I'm working on my broker's license here in Michigan. So I haven't officially started that yet, but it's time. I'm officially eligible to start those licensing courses. So that's what's next for me. Um, Aside from all of that, um, I make sure on a weekly basis I spend a few hours a week talking to experienced agents, experienced brokers, and lawyers in this industry. Um, I don't know why I think that that's so important, but for me, it's given me verbiage that I'm able to regurgitate onto my clients and onto people in the market. Right? If I sit in a business alliance meeting or I go to a some type of Rotary event or Kiwanis event here in town, I want to be able to not only speak with some amount of authority that I'm the professional in the market, but also a deeper understanding of the legalities, and some of the experiences that other more experienced seasoned agents have had. So um, that's kind of my educational journey. Certainly have ambition to get more credentials on my signature on my email. But I'm trying to paint in as many broad strokes as I can at this point and just get get a good grasp on the market and where we're at here in the country.
No, that's impressive. I mean, going after Ohio and your CCIM at the same time.
Yeah, man, that CCIM, that is a long one. It's long. I've been all over the country with it though, and it's been fun. CCIM is another environment that I am most certainly one of the youngest people in the room. So trying to educate myself to stand out in those types of environments. I'm not a very tall person. I'm not a very big person. I don't have gray hair. So I'm like, I just have to speak with authority and cross my fingers that it works. So far, it's done okay. But, uh, constantly being educated is probably the key to success in real estate, keeping up on what's happening, especially this last, 6 months, 8 months with all the changes.
No, absolutely. And it sounds like you're learning the language, right? You're talking to all the people and you're getting the lingo, and that's also really important.
Yeah.
So Cole, when you first started this journey into real estate and after all this exposure, what were your expectations? Like, what did you think the first year would bring?
Oh my gosh. I thought it's like the get rich quick thing, right? You see all the videos on social media. I'm like, this is going to be so easy. And I'm going to be loaded in no time. So my experience was, again, a bit different the way that I came into the industry. I negotiated on the front end some amount of stipend to make sure that I could pay my bills. I would recommend any agent, again, find a brokerage that allows you to either pull on a stipend or something, because survival the first 6 months is near impossible when you make little to no money. I walked in knowing that I was going to have one closing. That happened about maybe 3 weeks after I started, and then I didn't have another one for 6.5 months. So I was in a total drought and reconsidering every decision I had ever made in my life, right? And doing the door knocking thing and the postcards and the sending flowers to everyone and handwritten letters, you name it, I tried it. So I think I thought that it was going to be really easy. Mm-hmm. What I found was that it's not. It still isn't, right? And I've got residual business at this point, clients that are coming back, referring and referring and referring. But it's still a constant push to maintain business. So it's definitely different than I anticipated. But in a really beautiful way too, because it's keeping me sharp, right? It's keeping me growing, learning, putting myself out there, doing the things that make me feel uncomfortable, right? For me, it's never been talking on the phone, but it's certainly like door knocking. That scares me. It still scares me, but it's part of this business that, the most successful agents that I've ever met all have a few things in common, and I'm just going to follow the model. The model seems to work.
So any particularly memorable experiences from your early days? A day that just sort of went upside down or maybe went wonderfully that would be worth sharing?
Sure. So my first few transactions were what I would now call easy transactions, right? They were properties that we were selling, and we put a for sale sign in the front, lockbox on the door, really cute, took some pictures, posted the MLS, and they sold themselves, and I didn't have to do much work and I got paid. How nice is that? Since I have now created a list of my worst transactions, the ones that are the most labor intensive, the ones that require a lot more, or you get your paycheck at the end and you go back and you try to figure out what you got paid on an hourly rate, and you're like, oh, I made $6 an hour on this one. That's not great. I think though the biggest thing, is there a particular story? No, but there's a lesson that I learned out of it. And it's that some transactions are going to be easy and some transactions are going to be hard. And as long as you're concentrating on the next transaction, it's not that big of a deal, right? Again, going back to relationships, as long as I'm building a relationship, it'll pay off. Like you just have to do it. And that was really, really tough for me to learn, because like I said, I had the first couple transactions seemed to go pretty easy. They were spaced apart, and I went through that drought season of no money, but you know, they were simple. Then that big one comes along and it's not as easy, and it's like completely, balloon popping. Like I'm done throwing my hands up. I'm never coming back here. But that's not how this industry works. The chugging along is really what allows you to reap reward in the end. And that's kind of the lesson that I had to learn. I don't have a story for you, but tons and tons at this point. 78 today will be 79 transactions after, and they after my original start day, and there's been a ton of really difficult transactions. I've got one going on right now, so
Yeah.
it's
And
just part of the
no
game.
two transactions are identical, right?
Every
And
single transaction is different.
yeah, yeah. And that is a challenge to learn early on in real estate. There's no black and white playbook that just says
No,
like here it is.
it would be so
Um,
nice if there was.
right.
It would be so great. And
Yeah.
now I'm to the point in my career where I'm starting to mentor younger agents here in my office. We've brought around 15 of them on board in the last year. And they're all asking the same thing. Does it get easy? Why was this one so easy? And I'm like, don't ask any questions. That's the secret. You just don't think about it. You just keep going. There will be one that's like, wow, that was so simple. And then there will be another one that's like, yeah, no, not worth it. And you just keep moving. That's the secret.
When as you were going through this and learning this difficult lesson, which will carry on with you throughout your career,
The rest of
um,
the day, yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, did you have a mentor or support system? Tell me
Yeah.
about who supported you and helped you navigate those waters.
Yeah. So my partner in this commercial broker, he's been in the business for close to 35 years at this point. Um, he's certainly a mentor. And then aside from that, I have like the best brokers in the world. So um, even to this day, now that I feel like I can maybe answer some questions, I'm constantly asking, just making sure, hey, just making sure, right? No one wants a lawsuit. So I don't mind asking. And that's the biggest thing. You've got to understand that when you start in the business, you feel like you know everything. You just passed that test, which means I know everything. And that's not the case. You don't know much at all, actually. Um, and so even like I said, even to this day, I'm asking. So I'd say my business partner and then my two brokers here at the office have been the strongest support system in terms of keeping me on the path of legal, and then also teaching me and making sure my questions are answered and I'm doing the right thing and not drowning. So yeah, and that's beyond important. I can't even put a number to how important that is. It's beyond important.
Yeah, that's really common in the industry that
Yeah,
like the team really helps the people learn coming up, and I think that's really important.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. We've got 96 agents here in my office. And so all different breaths of life,
mhm.
all different, some part-time, full-time, single mom, uh, the whole thing. We've got it all. So depending on the day, depends on who I'm asking a question to, depends on the transaction, depends on what type of experience I'm looking for. Um, so it's important that I can find it, and I do feel really supported here. So that helps.
That's incredible. So you mentioned that like you had this drought period, right? Where you
Yeah.
closed one it was like 6 months and maybe you got your
Yeah.
second
Five and a
transaction.
half months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but clearly you've been incredibly successful. Can you walk me
Sure.
through like how did you get that momentum? What'd you do? Like what's the trick? What strategy did you take?
It helped to have that drought, and that's like the best word to use when you're describing a period of time in your life when you make no money and you're sad. Um, so when you have that drought period, I'm so happy that I had it early on, because now when there's a drought, thankfully it's not 6 months anymore. It's maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, what's happening with this business? What I learned was, and again, mentors and leadership all said, this is normal. This is going to happen. We can't control the economy, or else it would always be great. Of course it would, right? Um, but during those drought seasons that's when you're working your people, you're working your sphere, you're trying to find any amount of way to muster up some business for 6 months down the road. And in commercial, specifically commercial, if I put something under contract today, it's not going to close for another 240 days at minimum, depending on the transaction. But by the time you talk about all the things that are involved in a commercial transaction, so I learned really quick that during that drought, you're just constantly moving for the next deal. And even during that drought, I had a handful of like disappointments, things that, oh, I thought I was going to get a listing and someone else got it. Oh, I thought I was going to get a buyer and they ended up finding a FSBO on Facebook and buying it themselves. Right. And so I had to learn really, really quick. I'm going to wake up on Monday. I'm going to show up at the office. That's important. And I'm going to be there from 9 until 4. And I'm going to call 75 people today. And then I'm going to show up on Tuesday and I'm going to write 52 letters because that's what you have to do during those drought seasons. And it's terrible. But I will say we're 2 years later and all of that work wasn't in vain because they've completely come back around, especially with the accolades that I've received in the last year. I've got their attention now. And so it wasn't in vain. It was well worth it in hindsight, but it doesn't make it any less terrible.
No, that's great and great advice. I've actually heard from a lot of people that it's almost harder when you don't have the drought because you have to keep doing those calls. You have to keep writing those letters.
That's where I'm at now. And it is because the week goes by. I mean, the week is almost over and you're like, oh, I didn't do anything this week to work on business for tomorrow. And that's a humbling experience when now it's my fault, right? It's not the economy. It's not the industry. It's not, the buyers or the sellers. No. It's Cole's fault that nothing's happening right now. You're right. 100%.
So you mentioned you're starting to get some repeat customers now. Like, what did you do to build relationships with your clients? Anything special?
I think the biggest thing is communication, right? I have client or broker and real estate agent friends that throw parties and galas and get their clients the cutest little gifts at closings. And I don't do that. That's not my business model. Mine's 100% relationship based. So I'm not just calling you about your house that I sold you 6 months ago. I want to know, hey, how's your dog doing? Hey, can I run by? I'm in the area and I've got some cookies that I just picked up from the bakery and I'm going to drop a few of them off for you. So that's the stuff to me, the relationship portion of it that causes a repeat client, right? And again, experience that came on really early. I was at a listing appointment sitting in a kitchen with a husband and wife at a kitchen island, and I'm looking past them at the refrigerator, and on the refrigerator is 3 magnets from other real estate agents. And initially I got really nervous because my guess is these 3 agents who have been in the business for quite a while have also sat at the same kitchen island. Then I realized, wait a second, there's some science behind this. They're not necessarily calling those 3 agents, right? Who knows how they got that thing? Maybe it's a mailer. Maybe they went to a party and it was sitting out and it was free and we're like, we're going to take this. This is cool. And I'm not sure, but I don't overthink that stuff anymore. I know my own value, my own worth, and I just put myself out there and maintain that relationship. Even if the listing doesn't happen, I've had so many deals in the last 6 months that I had an opportunity to do something with them, a purchase or a sale a year ago. They didn't choose me, but now they're choosing me today. And I don't know that would be the case if I didn't keep up on that communication. Make sure to tell them happy birthday on social media. Send them a picture on major holidays. Those types of things I think are a lot more important to people than what we give them credit for. Just that relationship stuff.
So I gotta ask, man.
Yeah.
You're sitting at the island.
Yeah.
Did you get their business?
I did.
Nice.
I got the listing. And again, another situation, it's like, I don't know how I pulled this together, but here we are, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to cross my fingers that I can hold it together. And You know what, and Tina, to answer your question, that was the hardest transaction. That particular transaction was the hardest transaction. It fell apart 4 times before I finally sold this house. And I had kind of overpriced it on the front end anyways, knowing that I overpriced it. And uh, again, no clue how, but it all like completely crumbled together uh, like an hour and a half before closing. And it was a whole nightmare. I mean, I was like, yeah, losing my mind.
Mm,
But yes, got the business
nice. And close the business
and
despite
closed the
despite
business.
all the
Yep, yep,
odds.
yep.
So you mentioned 75 calls, 52 letters.
Yeah.
Um, it was your strategy, a phone-based strategy. Was this like dial in for dollars? Because you also mentioned door knocking, and what was your like? How'd you get
Yeah,
yourself out there in the beginning?
yeah. In the beginning, major social media push. I concentrated heavily on social media. Again, my background kind of being in marketing, I understood social media. I picked a demographic of people that I wanted to go after. Um, and every month I kind of readjusted that to see maybe what is my niche. Um, and it was actually the opposite of what I thought it was. I had in my head, I'm first time home buyer. I'm age whatever, 28 to 40, 28 to 38. That's my niche. That's who I am. That makes sense. And it didn't end up being that at all. So I just explored different avenues within social media marketing. Um, I got a self-made CRM on an Excel document that I just perfected because I couldn't find a CRM that I really loved. And then also couldn't afford a CRM because they were expensive and I was making $0. And so I just loaded that Excel document up and just kept changing it every 7 to 10 days until I found something that, oh, these people are responding to my calls, they're opening my emails. This may be it for me. And then I just worked that list of, I think it was 136 names or 136 addresses. I just worked those addresses until something popped, and then 3 popped in the same week. And then we were off and racing.
I love to hear what when you talk, it's numbers. Like,
Yeah,
the agent
yeah,
count, like the letter count, the call
yeah,
count. Like it's it sounds like you're goal oriented, very goal
yeah.
oriented.
Yeah, I love numbers. I mean, to me, that's the business, right? The numbers have to make sense in order to make it make sense. So I keep my numbers. I look at my numbers every morning when I get to the office. I know what's pending. I know how many listings I have. I keep a manual, behind me. You can see I keep an actual paper copy of everything. I like a digital file and a paper file of every single one of my listings. So the numbers are the business. That's where you're successful. If you know your numbers, you're going to be, um, successful at some capacity for sure. So I think it's important.
So then, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? Like, where are you going to be?
Yeah. So, well, so my 5 year strategy session, I schedule every year. I do a 5 and a 10 year strategy session at the end, the final week of every calendar year.
Okay.
I've done that for like 7 or 8 years at this point. I typically try to go away, clear my mind, spend 2 days away, one day just strategy session, one day just taking care of me, whatever that looks like, get a massage, go take myself out to lunch. So I've already got that scheduled for the end of this year. But based on my findings last year, and I haven't spent a ton of time on it between now and the end of the year, I'll start working on it. Um, I would say 5 years, I'll be broker over our commercial and residential brokerages. I'll have opened 3 additional offices. We have 3 offices currently. I want 6 in 5 years. Um, and I'll be right around 40 to 42 million dollars a year if everything goes the way that I want it to go. I'll be at 21 million this year, so the growth isn't huge. But for Southeast Michigan and then managing Ohio licensed broker license CCIM 6 offices, I think it's doable. I've made it made sense. I know what I got to do to get there.
Good. I mean, that's awesome. I think
So
that's what I see from successful people is they have goals, they set goals, and they drive towards
Yeah.
those goals.
And nothing feels better than crossing a goal off of a list. That's the best feeling in the world. Sometimes I set big goals and then I set small goals. That way, every day I have like that dopamine hit of crossing out a small thing that I've done. Um, but hey, whatever works, the psychology behind it, you got to get some things done every day, get towards your big goals in the future.
Great. I got one more for you, and then we're going to move to the lightning round. Um,
Sure.
do you have any tips or tricks that you would share with aspiring real estate agents?
Tips or tricks? So, handful of things. I'll go really quick. One, go find a commercial real estate agent or broker in your area. They have been doing this new buyer's agent commission stuff since the beginning of time. It makes conversations so seamless because commercial real estate agents know their worth. They can charge more most of the time than residential agents, and they know exactly what to say to get somebody to sign at whatever price. It's the best thing I ever did was listen to what commercial real estate agents in our area were saying. Made that conversation for me. The first time I had to present to a buyer, like, hey, here's my worth, and here's what we're going to be doing, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it means for you. It was seamless, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. So find a commercial guy because they know a ton of stuff. Second to that, keep rolling, right? Roll with the punches. You're going to get punched off your little pedestal that you've created for yourself 2,000 times. It's going to happen so often. And then three, kind of intertwined with two, best thing I ever did was I went to our top 3 agents in our area. And I sat down with them. I took them to lunch and I said, tell me 3 things that I'm going to learn in the first 3 months of this industry. Be honest. I want to know exactly what am I going to learn. I want to learn it today. I want to have all my failures up front. That way, hopefully, I can prevent myself from failing anymore in the future. And all 3 of them gave me completely different advice from completely different, areas of their sector and their worlds. And is the best thing that I ever did because I was able to anticipate what things were going to happen that really, would have defined the beginning of my relationship with this business. I didn't have a problem failing because I knew that, hey, it's going to be okay because X, Y, Z, based on conversations that I'd already had. So commercial broker, don't give up, and then find some top agents and just take them to lunch, spend the $75 and learn everything that you can know and that they can teach you in 45 minutes. It's the best thing I ever did.
That's great. And apparently lunch is expensive in Monroe.
Got to do it right. You're buying lunch for the top agents. Got to do it right.
Gotcha. Tina.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like your persistence, your goal setting, your business planning, your engagement with others, your interest in education. Like it's just, I love the story, Cole. Just
I
love it.
think,
Just
yeah,
love it.
I mean, as long as you're wanting to consistently grow, right? Learn new things, learn more stuff. Because, like you said, not every transaction is alike. Um, and you're willing to show up every day. That is so important. The new agents that are like, I just want to do this when I want to do it. It's not how it works. You're not going to make any money. If you want to make a living doing this, you've got to just be committed to it. And as soon as you fully commit, like things actually change. I mean, my business exploded overnight as soon as I made that commitment.
Just, I love it. And I think you're going to help a lot of people out and
I hope so.
pull those up the ladder behind you. It's just wonderful. So we're going to jump into the lightning round. I'm going
Let's
to
do
ask
it.
you a question, give you about 60 seconds or less to talk about it and really get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So these can be real estate specific answers or maybe not so real estate specific answers. The first one I'm going to ask you about is I hear people call you for everything. Like they need things fixed at their home. They have a complicated question to what the
hmm
capital of a place is. Like it's almost become sort of the fun thing in town to try and stump Cole. Have you ever been
Uh,
stumped?
have I ever been stumped? Um, so I am not good at actors, actresses, song titles, anything like that. Like my brain just, I don't want to store that data anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I've got other things on my mind. So, if I have been stumped, it's more than likely related to, some type of who played this in this movie type of situation. It happens to me a lot. Here at the office, it happens, and then out in with my family and friends, they're always trying to quiz me on movie titles and genres of. No, it's all over my head. I do not keep up with Hollywood culture whatsoever. So if I've been stumped, it's related to that for sure.
That's great. And what's one of the oddest or strangest or uniquest things someone has asked you to come help them with?
Let me see. Oh, I had a client who had a pond in their backyard, and they were convinced that if they put their fountain in the pond, that they would get more for their house. I told them maybe, not sure how you're going to do that, and they said, "Well, I do. You're gonna do it." And I said, "No. I'm in a suit. That's not going to happen. Like, this sweater's cashmere or whatever. Like, no, I don't get dirty." 2 days later, I'm out there with waders on in the mud, sinking down in this pond, putting the fountain out there. So that's probably the weirdest thing that I've ever been asked to do.
That's great. That's great. So you're not big into who the movie stars and the singers are. What about books? Do you have a book that you would recommend or that you would recommend to the audience, something that's meant something to you?
Yeah, so I would say books. Let me think. I read every John Maxwell book when I first started. I like plowed through them in no time. So they're all leadership based. They're semi-Christian based, but they're mainly leadership, business, mentorship, entrepreneurship. And then aside from that, I think I read Science of Selling maybe 4 times. Classic. I can't even remember who the author of that book is, but I've read Science of Selling at least 4 times. So I would recommend that to anybody. I used to keep a couple copies here at my office and just hand them out to new agents when they started. But that gets expensive.
That's great. If you had a time machine and you could go back to the day you started this journey, what would you do differently, or what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, this is good. So, I would go back and immediately start talking to the closest people in my office. I've said it throughout this podcast. I was so fearful that they were my competition, especially the people who's like the other side of this wall. They were my competition. I couldn't let them know what I'm doing, who I'm working with, where I'm going, what I'm working on a listing on, none of that. So I kept really tight-lipped. I walked in, I walked out. No one really talked to me. I just talked to my brokers. The second that I started talking to the people in my office, I truly feel like my business improved. One, mainly my own self-esteem, because I was here and I was a part of this team and I had a reason to show up, and I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let myself down. So if I could go back to day one, I would have started talking to people here in my own office on day one. It took me probably 8 months, 9 months before I actually started meeting people at the office. 96 agents, and I stuck to myself. I went to the bathroom, I left, and I that's it, my little triangle. So as soon as I started walking around, meeting people, talking to them, hearing their experience, talking about their buyers, talking about their sellers, business improved for sure. I would go back and do that over again.
What an education talking to other people can be, right? Like,
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And I bet a lot of people make that mistake. That's a great call out. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Dinner with one person. I think so. Random fun fact. John F. Kennedy is like my 7th cousin. We've got like the family tree. My 3rd grade teacher told me that I was lying, so I took my whole family tree into the school. I'm like, no, I'm not. Right? Yeah, here he is. I would go back. I think time machine. I would bring John F. Kennedy back, and go to dinner with him. I feel like his just entire life is just fascinating to me. Obviously, partially because I'm related, but mainly, I mean, just like, come on, that'd be a cool life to learn from.
Pretty cool. And I'm not surprised to hear that you went in and proved it to your teacher. That does not come as a surprise to me.
I had to. Yeah, you can't tell me.
I love it. Tell me what you did at work yesterday.
Oh, what was yesterday? So yesterday was Thursday. I'm working on this crazy closing, so I spent a lot of the day on the phone. I had two showings here locally and a listing appointment for a building in Detroit, so about 40 minutes north of me. Large commercial building. So I had listing appointment, a closing, two showings, and I spent the rest of my day on the phone working on this closing that's supposed to happen here in about 30 minutes.
Oh,
What a good day.
It was a great day. I
What a
say that
great
all the
day.
time. Like, what a great day. Are you kidding? Now, am I drained? Yes. Do I want to talk to anybody? No, probably not. But what a great day. I found a way to make money today, money tomorrow, and potentially money in about 6 months. That's a wonderful thing. Like,
It's a wonderful,
can't complain about it.
wonderful thing, and I love how you think about it. Um, so, one more thing I want to ask you about your community involvement.
Yeah.
You haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about your involvement in the community, some of the things you're doing to give back, get involved,
Sure.
make a difference. I'm going to sort of leave that open-ended. Will you share a little bit about your work there?
Yeah. So, Monroe County has a large business alliance. They have a leadership program through the business alliance called Leadership Monroe. They bring on about 20 people per year to bring them through a boot camp where you've got no phones. It's like kind of like summer camp in the movies. And then it's a 9-month process where at the end you've toured every facility of manufacturing, retail, hospitality in Monroe County. So you have a real grasp of, what's happening here locally on a nonprofit level or on a church level or a business level. So you really just get a good understanding of the community. So I was a 2024 graduate with Leadership Monroe, and then since I've been really involved with the Business Alliance here, bringing new industry and economic development to Southeast Michigan. So that's kind of what I'm most passionate about, I would say. And then aside from that, I spent a lot of time doing fundraising efforts for really just various charities around town. So my passion for nonprofits, not only just finding them space that's affordable and good space for them to operate out of, but then finding new creative ways to bring a little bit extra money in for them. So right now I'm doing a gift card drive. We're raising money. We're going to go out and buy a bunch of gift cards, and then we're just going to spontaneously pass them out at a local grocery store to whoever looks like they may need a gift card. So we're not going to put any, prejudice on it. We're just giving gift cards away. There's always something like that. My heart, being born and raised here, my heart is for the community. I'm not putting my own name on any of that stuff. That's just my little small contribution back. I mean, at the end of the day, so humbling to sit in a room like we did last week in Boston. And I sit there and I realize like this small little teeny tiny community that most people don't even know existed provided this opportunity to me. And so if I can give back a little bit, I'm good.
You literally just gave me the chills, Cole. Like,
Yeah. It
really,
can make me cry. I mean, honestly,
really
it's
awesome.
pretty humbling.
So, where can listeners connect with you to follow your journey? Where can they find you?
For someone who loves marketing, I can't stand it. I would prefer Facebook. So I love Facebook. I don't know why. It's my demographic loves Facebook. So I guess I just plug in on Facebook. So certainly Facebook. My username is just my name, Cole McNew. Pretty easy. Instagram. I post every day on my story on Instagram. I don't post on my actual content. And then YouTube, we have a YouTube page. We do what we call a What's Up Wednesday, where we take people in the know of what's happening around the community. So we do a YouTube video every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. that we post out on YouTube. And we've got like 4,000 people that watch that every week, which is pretty fun. And then, of course, LinkedIn, Cole McNew would be my username on that as well. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, but that's where I'm at.
Thanks for listening to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights gave you that extra spark to keep moving forward in your real estate career. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners like you. And don't forget you can watch this or other episodes on our YouTube channel. We'd also love to hear from you. Send your comments, key takeaways, or recommendations for future guests to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.